Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
The question, this is me eating crow because I am a full idiot.
You're eating what?
Eating crow.
What?
You never heard that? It's like eating shit, basically.
What?
It's like when you've done something wrong.
I've never heard that phrase in my entire life.
I'm gonna read eating crow.
Is it a southern thing, do you suppose?
Eating crow is a colloquial idiom used in some English-speaking countries that means humiliation by admitting having been proven wrong after taking a strong position. Okay, so this doesn't totally apply.
What in the world, though? I'm so confused. The poor crow. Anyway.
Eating crow is of a family of idioms having to do with eating and being proven incorrect, such as to eat dirt and to eat your hat or shoe, all probably originating from to eat one's words.
I know about eating your hat.
Never heard eat my hat.
Well, or I'll eat my hat, you know? Or I'll eat my shoes.
I've heard I'll eat my shoe. I don't think I've ever heard I'll eat my hat.
Maybe I've heard it, in terms of Indiana Jones and Macathon.
Okay, this is me apologizing for being a full idiot. I'm really sorry.
You're not.
I am a full idiot. It's okay. Miss Wraiths, who's the best, on Tumblr asks, for last week's Q&A, which I missed, what was for you the most disappointing part of the series? Or alternatively, which made you furious?
Well, I'm interested to hear what your answer is thus far, because you're in book 7. Well, you're done with book 7. You're book 8.
I don't have the strength yet to read book 8.
That's because book 8 is a hellhole.
It's because I can't get through the Mistborn series.
Well, yeah, that's relatable.
Because I really hate it.
Yeah.
But I'm like this, so I can't read anything else until I finish it. For me, the most disappointing part has been many things. I think the arcs of most female characters have been incredibly disappointing. When I first started doing this podcast, I'd only read 3 books, and things were going okay, and a lot of people on the internet, and not just in the internet, and also in my real life who had read Wheel of Time were like, oh, you're gonna love it because all the female characters are really great, and, I just think they all get kind of handed a disappointing lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was also really disappointed in the turn that Perrin's character took, because I really liked him at the beginning.
Yeah, that's upsetting. Rounds about book 4. He's like, and now I'm monogamy boy. And it's like, oh, well, you could have been Hammer Boy, but yeah, I guess we lost that chance.
Instead, you're Angst Boy.
Yeah, instead you're Wife Boy or something. That's not to say you can't have a wife. You can have a wife, obviously.
Be interesting.
Yeah, and still be a cool person and everything. But sometimes people get married and just, become their relationship with their spouse.
Very annoying.
And it's the secret to having a good relationship is being your own people outside of your relationship. That's nice. A fun hint from me, a person who's never been in a relationship. I hate Gawain, and I hate that he ends up with Edwene. Especially just everything that happens with them in the last couple books. It's just incredibly annoying. Let's see. Everything that happens to Matt's character in books 12 and 13 really make me angry. Mostly because there's just, a fundamental misunderstanding of his character at work there, and it just, really depresses me that some people could read him in that way. It's but there's a lot of things to be disappointed about in Wheel of Time. You can have lots of really good expectations, but it just disappoints you in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I see red every time a man on the internet tries to explain to me that what happened to Matt isn't rape. Like,
again, you owe us $15 every time you say that.
It's reparations.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Miss Truths. I'd be interested in what yours is.
Yeah.
Like, I know everyone has one, or 2 or 9, like us.
We need to buy Carly Rae Jepsen tickets.
Oh, yeah, fuck we do. Okay, anyway.
Pause the podcast.
Pause the podcast. Okay, we're back. This is Everybody Hates a Rant.
Proud owners of 2 Carly Rae Jepsen tickets.
Yeah, and your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. Proud survivors of a Hozier concert where we had to stand next to drunk people.
I got punched in the back.
Which was fucking ridiculous because a Hozier concert? Really? That's where you're going to take your drunken slovenliness?
I told Melissa about what happened. Melissa is my sister-in-law, and she was like, at the Hozier concert? Like, she was filled with so much rage.
I know. He's just, like, singing, like, Take Me to Church or whatever the fuck, and someone's like, woo!
I know, there was a lot of yelling, which was unfortunate.
Just, like, calm down. It's Hozier.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. I'm Emily Chusha.
Oh, yeah, and I'm the other one.
You gotta stop doing this.
They know, or they don't, and that's fine, too.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I'm not important.
Yes, you are. Can you imagine if I was doing this podcast by myself, just talking?
About the Wheel of Time?
No, that would be literally terrible. I am not.
You are. My mom wants to do a podcast. Guys, would you listen to my mom's podcast about places?
Oh, my God.
I can't even say
You have to get through it.
My mom wants to do a podcast called Places I've Peed, where she talks about various places.
I think my mom should guest star.
In her life where she's gone to the bathroom. And I think it'd be pretty funny, because my mom has lived a pretty wild life.
She has. That's
so
an
anyway,
understatement,
I'm doing some crowdsourcing for my mom. Would you or would you not listen to the podcast Places I've Peed? Let me know. You can tweet me at Sally_Butcher.
Okay, fuck.
See, Emily was like, we're only talking about one chapter. I don't know if we'll have enough to say. And I was like, I always
That's
have
why I took goddamn
things
notes.
to say. I'm an idiot. I'm a full idiot.
Half idiot?
Full idiot.
I'm half idiot.
Yeah, we're 1.5 idiots.
Out of 2 people?
Yeah, 1.5 idiots out of 2 people.
I think a nicer way to say that is like the brain cell math thing.
It's 1.5 idiots.
You know, like we have 3 brain cells among us.
And Emily has all of them.
No.
Yes.
And
Emily brushed our cat today. It was very nice of her.
He is so mean about it. I'm like, hello, I'm trying to keep you healthy, you dumbass.
Well, he doesn't deserve it.
He really doesn't. He yelled at us at 5:30 a.m. this morning, and earlier, possibly.
Oh, yeah, I woke up. I didn't sleep basically at all last night because he kept waking me up.
Oh, my God.
First by biting me, then by yelling, then by biting me, and then by just sitting on my head.
Like, what?
At one point I woke up and he was just like on my forehead.
Like, what's the deal? I was like, what do you want? Like, I woke up, I legitimately thought this. I woke up at 5:30 anyway and was like, maybe Sally's dead and he's trying to tell me. I legitimately was like, maybe this is one of those situations where finally an animal proves its worth. Like, Sally's having a medical emergency and I need to save her. But no, and then I saw him and I was like, no, he's just stupid.
Okay, anyway, that's Dibble news.
Okay, speaking of medical emergencies, Matt Cathon
Yeah.
wakes up and is like, how the fuck am I going to get out of this still? And he gets out of bed and he looks in the mirror and he puts on his makeup.
Every morning I wake
Exactly.
up before I put on my makeup.
And he's like, oh damn, I already look better. This is while he has half a slice of ham in his mouth, by the way,
Hero.
because that's who he is as a person. So he eats all his food and he gets dressed and he's like, I'm just gonna go, scouting.
Yeah.
Because he really wants to test the boundaries of, like, Swan was like, you are not going to be able to leave at all. And he's like, okay, well, try me, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's, like, a little lunatic, he's like, I'll just take my dice cups with me because then if I get out, like, I'll be able to buy myself new clothes. Which is such a fascinating viewpoint from someone who has not yet proven themselves to have an endless supply of luck.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, like, a normal gambler in his mind at this point. Like, what makes him so confident? Or is he just, like, a gambling addict and that
By the age of, like, 19?
I know, he's such a little lunatic.
Where did he even learn how to gamble?
Literally, in the last 2 books, apparently.
From who?
The
Moiraine?
first time we see him gambling is with, like, Cheyenne and soldiers.
Oh, so it's Uno's fault.
That's probably true. I would like to blame Uno for Matt's gambling addiction.
Did you go to Snow? I one time won $87 on the quarter slots in Las Vegas.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I had a sex on the beach, which was actually a pretty good drink.
Oh.
And then it's free. At Vegas, the drinks on the floor are free, but you should still tip your server. They want you to get drunk, so you spend all your money gambling.
That makes sense, yeah.
It's the same logic behind nonprofit fundraising galas. You go, you bring rich people, you give them a lot of alcohol, and they spend money. Which is why nonprofits are not always as good as you want to think they are.
The only time I've been in a Las Vegas casino was when I was dropping off my sisters to go to a Celine Dion concert. Then I went down the street to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was Batman, I'm sorry. I hated it.
Okay, staying on topic, I'm sorry. I'm a little, bit the worst today.
No, you're fine.
In a bad headspace, and I physically feel like I've been hit by 6 trucks.
Sorry.
So,
After this, we can rest and relax.
after this, I might throw up.
Then he's like wandering around out of the tower and he just goes down, finds the barracks immediately and starts like chatting up the soldiers, like trying to figure out, you know, what the deal is with the restrictions on him. And he's talking to like someone who's on the bridge guard and he's like, what are the conditions on the other side of the river? And the guy's like, I don't know, they're kind of muddy, but either way, you're not getting out of here because you're Matt Cathon. And Matt's like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah. And I said, I came down and was like, be on the lookout for this boy. He's tall, he's lanky, he looks like he hasn't eaten in 9 weeks. Got an impish look on his face.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably try and con you, which is exactly what the soldier says.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know why they were trying to like keep you out of like why they're trying to keep you in the city. Like, did you steal something? And Matt's like, no, I'm not a thief. And the guy's like, yeah, you don't really look like a thief. You look like someone who would con someone else.
Yeah.
And Matt's like, well, that's a fair assessment. So, fuck you.
Yeah. First of all, you're right.
First of all, you're right. Then he just keeps wandering. He runs into who he thinks is Elsie Grinwell, the horny farm girl from 2 books prior.
Good for her.
I know, honestly. She's just, like, really randy for Rand.
Oh my god, I can't with the word randy for horny.
I couldn't either. That was the first
It
time
was
I've used
funny.
it because of the wordplay.
It was funny. Randy for Rand. I'm sorry I ruined your joke by how uncomfortable that word makes me.
It is a very uncomfortable
Just say horny.
word. Horny.
What's wrong with
I already
horny?
did. I didn't want to repeat myself. Okay, so... Only Elsie Grinwell's like, what are you doing out and about? And Matt's like, I'm just out here. Like, do you remember me? How's it going?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, get away from me. Go, like, stand in the dirt on the other side of the path while I move past you. And he's like, okay. And he does. And anyway, that was Lanfear in disguise or something. I don't know.
I just always thought it was Elsie, you know?
I know,
She's being just a bitch.
Which would be amazing. But I think it, like, comes out later that it was Lanfear.
Mm.
But also that, like, brings up the question of where the actual Elsie Grinwell is. Like, did she actually go to the tower? I'm a little bit confused about
Is
that.
she dead?
Is she dead? I guess she is at the tower because, like, in the last book, Elaine was like, oh, yeah, 2 other girls here know Rand. There's Min and this girl named Elsie Grinwell who's kind of stupid. And Edwin was like, oh, cool. And then they never actually talked to Elsie.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that was actually Elsie, but honestly, could have been Lanfear, obsessed with Rand, a little bit stupid.
Yeah.
Both of those characteristics match with her as well. Anyway, then Matt walks along to the sparring yards, and he, like, quickly deduces that it is warders and warders in training.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like, notices that a bunch of ladies, like Aes Sedai accepted, are watching one particular pair of sparring students. And Matt is just like, okay, whatever. Sits down and starts to juggle because he's a lunatic.
Anyway, just picks up some rocks and starts juggling.
It's like a very ADHD thing to do. Like, you sit down and you immediately have to occupy your hands. You're like braiding grass, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so he's sitting there and he's kind of like, I'm not tired exactly, but it's nice to be sitting down. Like, I'm getting, like, walking is starting to be a pain. Then he, like, looks at them and he's like, oh, like, fuck me if that isn't Gawain and Galad, who Elaine won't shut up about. Mm-hmm. She's like, Gawain's perfect and Galad's the devil. And Matt is like, in my own personal assessment, Gawain sounds like a normal guy and Galad sounds like a decent guy.
Yeah.
But he is very pretty. Which is, like, big gay energy. Good for you, Matt.
Yeah. Although there is some unfortunate forced heterosexuality later in the chapter. Where Matt and Galen are like, we just don't get why he's always being fawned over.
The teacher's like, he's not that handsome. And Matt's like, no, he's not. And Galen's like, okay, you guys. I've lived with him. I know he's that handsome.
I know. Listen. I know.
Anyway. Like, that line would be so much... would, like, fit if you changed it just slightly for, like... the teacher to be, like, doing a heterosexuality bit and Matt to be, like, forcing down his feelings of, like, attraction.
Like, yes, he's not handsome.
Matt's like, no, he's not. The way I'm, like, who do I think is who's a man who's attractive? Like, if I were to be like Thor, not that good looking.
Chris Hemsworth is always your go-to.
Because he's the only man
I find that very interesting.
he's like...
I just need to do, like, a case study of this.
It's like, here's what happens in my brain. It's like there's a Google search, like, searching for attractive men. And it's like, fill in the, like, attractive man qualities. And then I, like, latch onto that scene of Chris Hemsworth in Ghostbusters where he, like, pushes his glasses back by sticking his fingers in the lenses. And I'm like, yeah, I find that attractive.
Emily does love him, big and stupid.
That's, yeah, my ideal type of man. Women,
maybe small
totally
and stupid.
Different. I do actually prefer
small and stupid men, large and very intelligent women.
If I actually met Chris Hemsworth, I don't think I'd really be attracted to him in person. I just like who he is in Thor.
So just Thor. Not
Basically,
Chris
I like
Hemsworth.
Thor, okay? You caught me. Fuck. Anyway, then Matt's just sitting there, and Galen and Glad stop and come over to him and are like, oh, hey, you're Matt. And he's like, yep, 'tis I. Everyone fucking knows who I am, I guess. They're like, yeah, Elaine told us all about you. Matt has this funny moment where he's like, am I supposed to call Gawain my lord?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't call Elaine anything, so I'm not going to do her brother any better.
Yeah,
like, fuck you,
so good.
nobility.
Yeah.
And he's just chatting with them, like, Gawain, of course, is like, how's your good friend Rand? And Matt's like, like...
Last I heard,
he's fine, but let's not go on a witch hunt for my former best friend right now.
Yeah.
And sort of, like, to distract them is, like, asking them about swords and whatever, and they're like... Actually, you can't remember now what actually happens. But basically, he's like, yeah, I don't do swords, but, like, quarterstaffs are pretty good. Like, I'd probably be able to, like, do fairly well against one of you. And they're like, you stupid peasant. You absolute ninny. And Matt's like, no, really, like... He just gets mad immediately and is like, okay, I'll bet you.
Yeah. It's funny because he has this
hilarious monologue
where he's like, maybe it's because all these women are looking at him, or maybe it's because I've just not won anything. And he's like, no, I just think it would be funny.
He's like, I just think it would be hilarious. And Gawain's like, I cannot take your money. And Matt's like, won't be a problem.
Yeah, both Gawain and Glad are like, but you're so sickly, it just wouldn't even be fair.
It's like a very charming sequence, because I was reading it this time and I was like, many other writers and characters, this would be a huge turnoff for me.
Yeah.
Like this idea of like, I'm just going to challenge someone to something that's kind of, you know, way outside the realm of possibility, and then, wow, I'm gonna win, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's the exact quality I hate in the dude from The Name of the Wind.
Yeah.
But with Matt, there's, like, this element of, A, he's not, like, actually just bragging. He's not right off the bat, like, I could take both of you at once.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, if you got me a quarterstaff, I could probably, like, fight one of you. He's not even like, I would win. He's just like, I'd do pretty well. And it's only when they're like, excuse me, kiss my boots, that he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck everyone.
It's a very, like, Robin Hood going to the archery kind of thing, you know?
Well, speaking of, did you read my notes?
No, I just know that that's where you always go.
Because of Robin Hood? Listen, since we are only reading one chapter today, I did some research on Wikipedia today while I was at work because I was incredibly bored.
You can come do my job.
I would love to.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, I'd like to hang out with the birds in Geffen.
I have a fun Gethin story, but we don't need to have Gethin news every week on the
I don't want
podcast.
to hear about it anymore. Okay, so a lot of my research, I said, is Wikipedia, but also everyone should read the 13th Depository's essay about Matt's character parallels. They do that with all of the major characters, but Matt's was particularly informative for this one. So obviously Matt's got Robin Hood parallels. Robin Hood, for the record, first appears in ballads. It's because I still have Galad in my head. In ballads in the 15th century. If he was a historic figure, it was probably in the 13th century, and they've actually identified like 8 different people who he could have been. Because like Robin was a really like common name in those days, and like it wasn't that odd to have a dude who was like an outlaw or like was like fuck the rich, you know. And it's weird because his like whole legend has changed over the years. In the like his earliest versions, he's definitely like a poor person or part of the middle class. He was actually probably a yeoman, which is like its own class in medieval England of like a woods person, like someone who lived in the forest and like cared for the king's property type of stuff. But in the earliest stories, he has like he's known for his archery, obviously, like he's this really amazing archer. He's anti-cleric, which is just like fuck the religious as well. And he's also known for his quote-unquote special regard for women, which is like, what could that possibly mean? Don't know. It could mean he's chivalrous in like a certain way.
Or it could mean he's real slutty.
It sounds like he's real slutty.
Good for you, Robin
I know.
Hood.
Good for you, Robin Hood. Anyway, the whole thing has, like, changed over the years. Nowadays, like, there's a lot of, like, over the last century or so, people have kind of tilted toward, oh, maybe he was actually, like, a member of the nobility and, like, was in the Crusades and then came back and decided to fight for the poor on behalf of King Richard while Prince John was trying to usurp King Richard. While King Richard was being kidnapped, which was a thing that happened. English history is whack. Yeah,
what happened to King Richard? He
got kidnapped coming back from the Crusades, and they were like, "We're holding you for ransom," and England was like, "We don't even want him that much." But the alternative is his like terrible younger brother. So fine, we'll pay it.
Fiscally speaking, that would be ideal.
Yeah, fiscally speaking, you can keep him. We don't even like that anyway. And sort of also in like the last century, maybe the last 2 centuries, it's become kind of a thing of like, it's not just a classism thing in terms of lower class against the upper class. It's like Saxons against the Normans. The Saxons were not even the Aboriginal like group in England, but they were more Aboriginal than the Normans who invaded in the 12th century and took over and were oppressors, of course, as every invading force is. That's particularly in Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe is all about Saxons versus the Normans. It's very odd.
I've never read Ivanhoe. I also had no idea what it was about.
It's about a dude who's like a knight.
I thought it took place in America, so...
Oh, no, it's about a guy who's a knight, and he actually comes back from the Crusades and, like, falls in love with this girl named Rebecca, who's Jewish. And he, like, there's, like, lots of little tournaments with, like, jousting and stuff. Robin Hood makes an appearance. Rebecca is gonna get burned at the stake at one point for being a witch, but then I think someone saves her, and there's a creepy guy. That's the extent of my memory of Ivanhoe. You're welcome. I watched the BBC miniseries when I was in high school. I don't know why. I just really fucking loved swords. Anyway, fun fact, in 1953, the state of Indiana banned Robin Hood from textbooks because they were like, he's promoting communism.
Hell fucking yeah, he is.
Isn't that wild?
That's amazing.
The McCarthy era was buck wild.
Yeah, the Red Scare in the United States was bonkers.
Yeah, anyway, everyone is still obsessed with Robin Hood, which is really interesting. Disney, like, made him a sexy fox, and in Ivanhoe, he's basically, like, a hero of the Horn in terms of, like, he's already taken on this mythical quality within the bounds of Ivanhoe, so when he appears, it's like, oh, it's Robin Hood, you know? Like, people know who he is, and it's sort of like a nod to the reader who definitely knows who he is. And then kind of like more recent iterations have had him just be like this sufferer of PTSD, like coming back from the Crusades. Like that's the Russell Crowe version and the BBC version. I'm well versed in Robin Hood's. Haven't seen the most recent one though, because I heard it's basically The Dark Knight, but Robin Hood, and I was like not into that.
The one with that kid from The Kingsman?
Yeah.
Who I
hate. Yeah, me
The
too.
Kingsman was such a terrible movie. I'll fight anyone on that.
Anyway, the best iteration of Robin Hood, hands down, is Robin McKinley's version. Of course, she's my mom, but she wrote a book called The Outlaws of Sherwood, in which Robin is just like anxiety TM, and that's very relatable. Anyway, everyone likes Robin Hood because he's like this folk hero in terms of being a symbol of the lower class fighting against the upper class, which is exactly what's happening here with Matt and continues to happen with Matt throughout the rest of the series. He's just like anti-nobility, anti-nobility, anti-nobility throughout his entire arc, which like kind of makes sense because the first nobility he met was Elaine. So like,
who wouldn't be?
Who wouldn't be, you know?
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah, fuck all of them. Get out the guillotine.
Which does make me kind of sad that Matt is then forced into the nobility in a variety of ways. First, being forced to live in the palace in Abu Dar, and then through his marriage into the Shanshan nobility. It's just like, why couldn't have he had just like a cute little farm wife?
Yeah, it's like one of those things that it becomes like that part of Matt's like character archetype merges with other character archetypes because of like he like had to end up in a position to like get the world back on track, and so like marrying into the nobility I guess was the best way Robert Jordan could come up with that. But I don't know, I think he should have like pulled some sort of loophole to make Matt still a farm boy, even if his wife is like the empress of an empire or whatever, you know, just like let Matt be. Let him not be the nobility. Although having a noble love interest is also common with Robin Hood. Maid Marian.
Also a sexy fox.
Also a sexy fox, or just sexy, period, in the BBC Robin Hood. I think she's so cute, and I love her a lot. And in Robin McKinley's Robin Hood, she's also very good, and she's actually the one who goes to the archery contest.
Nice.
Disguised as Robin Hood, and is like,
I'll be shooting for me own hand.
I'll be shooting for me own hand. Anyway, the whole notion of, like, culture heroes is something that Matt embodies in terms of the most obvious ones are, like, Prometheus, like, in terms of being the champion for, like, I don't know, the, like, majority of people, men. There's also the idea that Matt invents cannons and, like, that sort of quote-unquote fire. Yeah, and they're like, the Prometheus thing goes on. Perrin has a dream of Matt where he's, like, naked and bound to a rock, which is really creepy. Yeah. And Rand, one of whom's parallels is Heracles, saves Matt from death twice. So, just, like, fun little Prometheus facts. Matt also is a parallel to Brer Rabbit, who appears in the, I guess, a lot of people would know it if you've been on Splash Mountain, but like because Disney was like, sure, we'll just continue to have our incredibly racist movie, The Song of the South, as part of our Disneyland ride. My family doesn't understand why that's my least favorite ride, and I'm like, I can't handle the storytelling. Anyway, Brer Rabbit is like the symbol in African American stories, like within American slavery. Brer Rabbit was like the culture hero who like constantly outwitted Brer Fox and Brer Bear, who are like representatives of like white men, and just like you use your wits instead of like brawn to defeat them, stuff like that. And also, like, coyotes, a Native American symbol for tons of different Native American tribes, especially the Navajo, though he's kind of like, and it varies whether he's, like, evil or a good guy, but either way, he's kind of a trickster and usually has a hand in, like, presenting humans with some form of, like, technology or life or, like, having a hand in their creation. And what the fuck else is on my notes? Oh yeah, Reynard the Fox. There's a whole, like, cycle of Reynard the Fox, and that's all about, like, the peasantry in medieval Europe, and he's, like, the hero of the peasantry. So what I'm saying is Matt has a lot of character parallels with, like, actual myths, and folklore, and it's just really interesting that he, like, embodies that in this moment when he kicks Gawain and Galad's asses and is like, fuck the nobility.
Hell yeah, baby.
Interestingly, in a lot of Robin Hood myths, there's, when you are introduced to Little John, this happens basically beat for beat in Robin McKinley's version, but it's also just, like, a story, is that Robin Hood will be walking along and get to, like, a bridge where only one person can cross, and he'll get halfway across the bridge the same time Little John is coming halfway across the bridge, and then they both get mad at each other and fight, and Little John kicks Robin Hood's ass with a quarterstaff.
Nice.
And then Robin Hood's like, that's the type of guy I want on my squad.
Didn't they see each other going across the bridge?
It's like a weird, like, thing.
Is it like a curved bridge, or are they just men?
The Robin McKinley version is really funny. Robin has his head down because he's just, like, thinking and has, like, anxiety, and he's just kind of, like, on autopilot. And Little John is, like, already a quarter of the way across the bridge when Robin Hood gets on it, and he's like, well, fuck. No, I'm just mad at this motherfucker. So then they meet in the middle of the bridge and have this really hilarious conversation and just, like, fight.
Okay.
Anyway, Little John's kind of the quarterstaff guy, but quarterstaff is just, like, in general, a symbol of the common man.
Well, Matt uses a bow too, right?
He does, also, yeah, especially in the first couple of books. The bow is his, like, weapon of choice. Then, kind of as we get into the later books, he basically sticks with his, like, spear/quarterstaff. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. He does do a lot of innovation, though, in later books about, like, finding faster crossbow cranks to, like, to, like, give the men in his army an advantage. But yeah, all three boys kind of have, like, their little archery thing to be, like, their, like, peasantry roots.
Remember that they're peasants?
Yeah, like, remember, they're peasants. They're just stupid common folk. And you have Matt, who's just, like, wily coyote over here.
You should do that more often. That was really interesting.
I can do it for more next time we have a chapter that's just, like, a random parent sequence that we don't have much to say.
You're so good at it. I think you'd be a really good lecturer.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And I really enjoyed that, and I found it very engaging.
Okay, thanks.
I would give you 10 out of 10 stars.
Okay. Did you, when I was in 8th grade French class, we had to memorize a, poem called The Raven and the Fox. And it's, like, one of Aesop's fables, and for whatever reason it, like, translates really well to, like, be a French poem. But it's all about a raven up in the tree with a bit of cheese, and the fox, like, passes beneath and tricks the raven into dropping the cheese so that he can have it, which is just also a really funny, like, symbol of Matt the fox interacting with the Shanchin the ravens, where he's just like, I'm just gonna trick you into giving me
your cheese.
What I want. I fucking love cheese.
Just love cheese.
I just love cheese. Anyway, so that's all interesting to remember with Matt, although it's also interesting to remember that a lot of these, like, legends and folk tales come from oppressed groups of people, which is why I think it would be really interesting if Matt in the television series was cast as a person of color rather than white, because yeah, you kind of, it's a little bit
appropriative.
Yeah, optically it's not great if you have a white boy who's just, like, embodying all these narratives of, like, Anansi and Coyote and Brer Rabbit, of course, you know. Especially because, like, Gawain and Galad aren't particularly oppressing Matt. And generally Matt doesn't get oppressed by any of the nobility. He just doesn't like them. Yeah. It would be, like, a different scenario if he was coming out of the Two Rivers, which is, like, being taxed within an inch of its life or something. Yeah. But Andor's basically been like, who?
Who is that?
West Virginia? Never heard of her.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. Our kingdom ends here.
Exactly.
No, Your Majesty, it ends over there.
She's like, what? It's over
Never
there.
seen this map in my life.
Does the sun even touch that? As you know, anything the light touches is my kingdom, but I don't think the light goes over there. It's like, that's because of Rand. He just sucks.
So tall, he just blocks out the sun.
Anyway, then Matt has a fight with Gawain and Galad, and it's actually a very well-written little fight sequence. Like, it's very clear what's going on, which is a hard thing to achieve in a fight sequence, but I appreciate that about Robert Jordan's writing. He can portray hand-to-hand combat really well. or I mean, in this case, close range weapons combat. But basically, Matt KO's Gawain in like 10 seconds
I know,
flat.
it's so good.
And then Galad's like, oh fuck.
And God's like, oh shit. And then, this is when, oh shit, London Bridge starts playing the sirens in Galad's head.
Especially because, like, Matt looks incredibly sickly.
Yeah.
Like, he just looks like a corpse. And Galad's like, what the fuck? Like, his quarterstaff is thicker than he is.
Yeah.
And, like, Matt is feeling sick. Like, he knocks out Gawain and is like, oh my god, I'm about to collapse. But I have to do this.
Yeah.
Because I cannot lose my money. Just motivated by money.
A little goblin.
I know, he's just such a little troll bridge. He just fucking loves money. But then the fight ends, and Galad gets swarmed by people who want to heal him, and Matt's like, okay, Matt, like, collapses, and everyone's like, fuck you.
Excuse me. Galad.
Yeah, and then the fun warder teacher is like, hello, do you all recall who's the greatest swordsman of all time? And they're like, Jeffrey, or whatever his name is.
Like
Jerome or something?
Yeah, but of course it's spelled ridiculous.
But basically it's like, I don't know, Randland's Ip Man, you know, just this legendary fighter.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's this guy, and he's like, okay, well, he fought 10,000 times in his life, which, first of all, is an insane number.
The Crusades were just like that, Emily.
Just a second, I have to figure out how many, if you
battles
fought,
a day.
If you fought every day.
Okay, but we have to figure out what was the life expectancy.
That's 27.39 years of you fighting every day.
So he had to live to at least be 27.
Yeah, that's not discounting weekends. Like, he had to live to, he was fighting.
Took you a second.
What the fuck?
Came out of the womb just slash bitch.
Like, give me a knife.
Give me a knife. Okay, fine. He lived to be at least, I don't know, 37.
47?
If he started fighting at the age of 10.
Okay, well, anyway, the point is he only got beat once, and that was by a farmer with a quarterstaff, whose name isn't even mentioned. You'd think that guy would get, like, a name drop in the history books. Come on. Who's the fucking peasant who was like, I'm not taking any more of this. I can kick this guy's ass with my...
big stick.
With my eyes blindfolded.
So there's another little one of those, you know, Wheel of Time has these, like...
Yeah, like mythic figures, kind of.
Yeah, it's like the characters connect both, like, mythology from the reader's schema and mythology to the world's schema.
Yeah, I wish we had a few more of these because they're quite interesting. Yeah. Like, I wish we heard more about Jerome.
Yeah.
Like, what's his
And the
story?
farmer that beat his ass.
Yeah. Maybe they fell in love afterwards. Oh my god.
What if this was when Matt and
I'm
Galad
so good at making...
Galad.
If I was making this a TV show, then yeah, Matt and Galad would exchange very, like, intense eye contact from across the field as Galad is, like, getting up from being surrounded.
Being, like, swarmed by women, and
He'd
Galad's
like, oh my god, that's
wait,
the
hold
hottest
on.
boy. He's so weird looking right now, but...
I'm into it.
I'm into it. Turns out I like having my ass kicked. Guess that's my kink.
Galad's definitely a bottom.
Have I told you about one time? One time I was walking somewhere with some coworkers. This was back in New York, and we were walking to dinner on our, like, dinner break, and someone turned to our, like, very gay, like, friend and was like, hey, I have a question. And he, without looking up from his phone, said, I'm a verse. Completely unfazed. It was the single most legendary thing that I've ever witnessed. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What a power move that was. She was like, that wasn't what I was asking. And he was like, it was, though.
Amazing.
So anyway, I love the gays. But yeah, then Matt collects his money and is like, okay, well, peace out, basically. Like, that's the chapter.
Basically is just, like, hobbling back to his room.
Yeah, it just hobbles back to his room.
He keeps the staff.
He keeps the staff, which is important, and, you know, interestingly...
Use it to pole vault later.
I know, what a little lunatic. And he comes really close to killing Galad here.
Yeah.
Which is foreshadowing for the moment when he will actually kill someone with this very staff, and it's the first person he, like, kills intentionally, you know.
Yeah, he almost hits Galad in the throat, right?
Yeah, which is a really freaky way to kill someone, just by the way. But yeah, this is also the one and only interaction that Matt has with Gawain and Galad. Canonically. Obviously in my heart.
Obviously in my
He's
heart. He's
glad
glad are
all the
married.
time. They might actually see each other in book 14, but I have no idea. I can't remember that far ahead. But that's like wild.
It is wild. At least he doesn't have to interact with Gawain. Matt's the only character that is saved from that fate.
I know. Like, imagine if Matt met Gawain while he's dating Edwin. Matt would be like, what?
Matt would be like, girl, egg. No.
Egg?
Egg girl, no.
You would do so much better.
Yeah.
She'd be like, I know. But I'm horny.
But it's like, you could be horny for so many other people.
It's like, you could have a vibrator and achieve the same function.
More or
As
less,
Gawain, it's significantly less annoying.
Significantly less annoying.
Doesn't bother you, doesn't disrespect you.
Doesn't speak.
Doesn't speak. Unless you have a really sentient vibrator. Horrifying. I'm really sad I went down that train of thought.
It's okay. It's an interesting new cartoon
Because I've been thinking about the brave little toaster all day.
Okay, I don't love the transition from Brave Little Toaster to Sentient Vibrator, but this is where we are right now. So, I really don't like the animation of that movie and how it's translating to being a sentient vibrator.
I remembered how much that movie fucked me
saw
up
your
as a
tweet.
kid. It was very disturbing.
Yeah.
Then I went and looked up the synopsis of the movie to, like, make sure I wasn't remembering it wrong, like, with my child brain. No, there's legitimately a scene at the end where the, like, dude who owns the appliances, who's like a college-age kid, is about to get like crushed in a car compressor.
Mm-hmm.
But the brave little toaster throws itself in the gears and is mangled and pretty much dies. But then he gets, like rebuilt or whatever.
Movie's
but like,
fucking weird.
What the fuck?
Why did someone make a movie about a toaster?
I don't know. Apparently it was based off a book, and I was like,
why would someone write a book about a toaster?
I was like, I didn't even know that this could get weird. Okay, well, anyway, that's the synopsis of this chapter, and we'll be back with more egg next week.
Egg! She's a brave little toaster.
Yeah.
She's very little, right? Isn't she our shortest baby?
She's quite small. She's not as small as Moiraine.
That's right, Moiraine is. I just wish more women were like 8 feet tall.
I know, it's really cowardly that Avienda isn't 7 feet tall fully. That Avienda isn't like, I'm taller than most NBA players.
And we were all like, top me.
Yeah, that would be super hot. So anyway, what do we have to say?
Well, we would like to say first and foremost, thank you to everybody who got us to meeting our most recent Patreon goal. We were looking for $150 a month. We now have $157 a month. Thanks to these amazing folks, Nathaniel and Taylor and Glenn and Aaron, Jesse, Robbie, Alyssa, Andy, Trond, Paul, and then some people upgraded their pledges, Sarah, Abigail, Peter. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but we thank you all so much for your generosity. It's so amazing. And on Patreon, speaking of Patreon, our next goal is going to be $300 a month or some change, possibly, because we are going to look into creating Everybody Hates Rand merchandise.
Woo!
Woo!
Hopefully this is the last episode I record using Audacity, the software that came straight from the devil's asshole. So thank you to everyone who has enabled me to finally get a real person software. But now this means we can look at making something that will like give back to you in a significant way besides audio quality.
That's true. That's basically all we've been fighting for a year.
I know, so sad. But we're hoping just to start out with making like buttons and stickers. Mm-hmm. More information forthcoming as we get closer to our goal, but obviously we want some Larry the Good Trolloc merch. And I don't know, maybe some The Grave is No Bar to My Yeet merch. We'll find out.
Slap that on your laptop, baby.
Yeah, homie. Just confuse the hell out of everyone. You're like, what the fuck is that? And you're like, there's too many levels of interpretation here. I can't.
It's too much I'd have to explain.
It's too much. But we're super excited for that, so.
Yes. We would also appreciate it just to sort of get a sense of what the interest level is we're going to put out some polls and some questions on our various platforms, or you can just email us letting us know that you'd be interested and what you would find interesting if you would not ever in your life purchase the Grave is No Bar to My Yeet merch. Let us know. Or if that's like all you've ever wanted, also let us know. that. So look out for those polls and questions in the coming weeks, days, stuff like that.
Yeah. Thank you to Glenna McKenzie for the use of our theme song. It doesn't have a name, does it?
No, it doesn't have a name.
I was just doing a Griffin McElroy voice there, and I'm sorry, I'll try not to get into that habit. But thank you, Glenna, for making and letting us use the theme song. It is awesome. We love it so much.
Jazz, jazz, jazz.
And so, here we are. Do you have a sign-off prepared for us?
Oh my gosh. So the aviary got a new eagle. We do have some sign-offs. We do have some sign-offs saved from listeners. I'm sorry, this was just insane.
Yeah, I want to hear. Go for it.
The aviaries, a lot of birds at the aviary are at the aviary because they come from wildlife rehabilitation centers and they can't be reintroduced into the wild. That's like a significant part of our like collection practices, including our eagles. We have 2 golden eagles and now we have 2 bald eagles, but before we just had 1, and all of them are non-flighted due to injuries.
Oh.
And so we built them this new exhibit that allows them to be at a higher elevation because it is an important psychological preference for predator birds to be higher than the human eyesight.
Nice.
Just because they're like, we don't know what to do with this. So we got a new bald eagle so that our bald eagle would have a companion, have a little buddy.
Oh.
But this bald eagle, we asked all these other places for a non-flighted eagle so that she would kind of pair up with her companions, but we got one that was a little bit more flighted than anticipated. And so the exhibit was built obviously for birds that can't really get any upward momentum, which is not the case with this bird who was on exhibit for the very first time in her life today. She's actually never been on exhibit, so of course she was stressed. Very nearly escaped into the pelican pond, and our like lead aviculturalist, who's the best, is there with like leather gloves all the way up to her shoulders, because apparently catching a bald eagle is like the most impossible thing in the world. They just get super gnarly.
Yeah.
So she's there like in leather gloves and like coveralls, like just standing. She had to stand there the entire day because the bald eagle almost escaped.
Oh.
So she was just like standing over the exhibit, like
My God.
trying to stop. She didn't. She settled down, you know, she calmed into the exhibit, but it was pretty funny. You could like see the little pile of wood chips where she jumped and didn't quite make it and like fell back down. There was like an eagle.
It's the fucking Great Escape, the Shawshank Redemption up in here.
Yeah, it was
Kill
funny
Monte
though.
Cristo, Jesus.
That was a really long sign off. I'm sorry.
No, it was
You did learn some
incredible,
bird
and I loved
facts
it.
though.
Yeah, bald eagles. Bald eagles.